The first hunt, the jungle was quiet. Too quiet. Ethan crouched behind a thick root, his breath slow and careful. Alien vines curled around strange glowing trees, casting shadows that moved even when the wind didn't blow. He checked his makeshift. Camp, just a small fire pit unlit and some salvaged gear from his crashed ship. One thing wasn't from the ship. A chunk of fresh meat, raw, bleeding, still warm. It was placed neatly near his shelter, like someone, or something, wanted him to eat it. But Ethan never touched it. This was the third night in a row. No, he whispered to himself, backing away. It's a trick. Has to be. The first night he thought it was an accident. Maybe an animal dropped it. But then he saw the footprints. Large, clawed, almost human. Too big for him. Too sharp to be friendly. And then, after he refused to eat the meat, he heard it. A growl, not like a wild animal. It was deep, controlled, almost disappointed. Since then, he stayed awake, watching, waiting. He hadn't seen the creature fully, just glimpses, glowing eyes in the dark, the sound of heavy footsteps circling the trees, the smell of something wild, fur, blood, and something like flowers. Whatever it was, it came back every night, and it hunted him. He pressed his hand against the cold dirt, listening. A rustle to the left. A shift in the air. She was near. Ethan picked up a metal rod, sharpened at one end. It wasn't much, but it made him feel better. Suddenly, something dropped from the trees. He spun around, weapon raised, but there was nothing. Only silence, then the growl. Closer this time. He didn't move. He couldn't. He felt it behind him, warm breath against his neck. Slowly, painfully, he turned and saw her, tall, strong, covered in dark armor-like skin that shimmered in the moonlight. Her hair, long and wild, fell past her shoulders. Her face was sharp, beast-like but beautiful in a terrifying way. Fangs glinted under her lips, and her yellow eyes watched him with hunger. Not the kind of hunger that wanted to eat him. A different kind. She held something in her clawed hand, more meat, bleeding, fresh. She stepped forward and placed it gently at his feet. Then she waited. Ethan didn't move. She tilted her head, confused. Why? He whispered. What do you want from me? She didn't speak, only watched. He took a small step back. The growl returned, low and warning. Okay, he said quickly, palms raised. Okay, fine, I won't run. Her expression softened just a little. They stood in silence. The jungle held its breath. Then she turned, leapt into the trees, and vanished. Ethan fell to the ground, heart racing. He stared at the meat again. This wasn't a threat. It was a gift. But why? Was she trying to feed him or claim him? He thought back to the crash. The way he had survived the impact. The way the predators around this place had always avoided his camp. Was it luck or her? He didn't sleep that night. He watched the meat. He thought about her glowing eyes. And he waited for tomorrow. The meat and the message. The meat was still there in the morning. Flies buzzed around it. But Ethan didn't touch it. He stared at the bloody chunk like it was a puzzle. His stomach growled, dry and empty, but his mind was louder. What was she trying to say? He stood, stretched, and picked up a small scanner from the broken escape pod. Power was low, but it worked just enough. He waved it over the meat. No poison, no radiation, just protein. Clean. He turned his head slowly toward the trees. You're watching me, aren't you? He whispered. No answer. Just silence. And the feeling of eyes. Ethan picked up the meat with 2 fingers and walked to a flat rock nearby. Carefully, he placed it there. Like returning a gift politely refused, he stepped back, watching, waiting. Nothing. After an hour, he sighed, packed his gear, and walked into the jungle. He followed no path, just instinct. He wasn't sure what he was looking for. Maybe her. maybe answers. But after walking for 30 minutes, he noticed something strange. Markings on the trees. Deep claw marks. Not random. Deliberate. Symbols. He stepped closer. One symbol looked like two creatures standing beside each other. Another, like hands touching. And another one, repeated over and over, like a swirl inside a sun. A language. He pulled out his scanner again, recorded the carvings. The translator couldn't read them. Too old. Too alien. But Ethan knew these weren't warnings. They were messages. For him. Something moved in the trees above. He looked up, just in time to see a shadow vanish between the branches. She was near, again, but she didn't attack. She was leading him. He kept walking, carefully following the carvings. They appeared every few trees like a trail. Slowly, the jungle changed. The trees grew taller, the ground softer, covered in blue moss. Glowing insects danced in the air like floating fire. And then, he found it. A cave, covered in vines and bones. Skulls lined the entrance, some small, some big, some clearly not human. But inside he saw something unexpected. A fire, a real one. Burning low, fresh. Someone lived here. He stepped in, careful, silent. The smell was strong, fur, smoke, blood, and flowers. He turned a corner in the cave and froze. There, carved into the stone wall, was a giant mural. Two figures, one clearly a beast woman, tall, fanged, with long hair. The other, a human male. They stood close, holding a shared object, like a heart or maybe a flame. Beneath them, lines of alien text glowed faintly, and beside that, another carving. New, his face, roughly drawn. But it was him. Ethan stepped back, stunned. What is this? A low growl echoed behind him. He turned slowly. She stood there. Hukara. No armor this time. Her body was marked with strange glowing lines, tribal, ceremonial. Her claws held no weapon, just a long spear tied with flowers and feathers. Her eyes locked onto his. She stepped forward, slowly like a predator, but her expression wasn't cruel. It was hopeful. You followed, she said. Her voice was deep, broken, like someone learning a forgotten language. Ethan swallowed hard. What? What do you want from me? She pointed at the wall, at the carving. You, me, bond. He shook his head. I don't understand. She stepped closer, chest rising with each breath. You are last of your kind here. Hunted, but saved. By me. Ethan's heart pounded. Why? Why save me? She looked hurt for a moment, then pointed at the meat he had left behind. Gift, you refuse. Again, again, again. I didn't know what it meant. She placed the spear on the ground, then kneeled. Her eyes never left his. In my kind, she said slowly. Hunt means respect. Gift means choice. He stared. Choice? She nodded. You eat, you accept. We bond. Forever. Ethan stepped back. Bond? Like marriage? Her head tilted. Closer than that. Deeper. Soul deep. He turned toward the mural again. The human in the carving wasn't afraid. He looked proud. Calm. But why him? Why me? He asked. Hukara stood again, walked closer. She touched his chest gently with 2 fingers. You are not beast, not war, not like others, but strong, clever, brave. You watched me, he said. I protected, she corrected. From others, from death. He lowered his head, thinking. All this time he thought she was hunting him. Maybe she was, but not to kill, to claim. That night, Ethan sat near her fire, staring into the flames. She sat across from him, silent, peaceful. She offered him the meat. Once more, he looked at it, then at her, and slowly pushed it back. Not yet, he said. Hukara growled low, but didn't attack. Instead, she smiled. Soon, she said, and vanished into the night again. The beast with a name Ethan didn't sleep that night. The fire still crackled in the cave, but his mind burned hotter. He stared at the glowing carvings on the wall, his own face drawn beside hers. Bond. Forever. The idea echoed in his mind like thunder. She saved him. She fed him. She protected him from the jungle. But why? Why him? He heard a rustle from the entrance. A scent drifted in, flowers and blood. He turned sharply. She stood there again, Hukara, barefoot. Tall, fierce, silent. She stepped inside the cave without a word. This time she held nothing. No meat. No spear. Just a calm, strange gaze. Ethan sat up, tense. You always come at night. Yes, she said softly. He frowned. Why? What do you want from me? She walked toward him, slow and steady, as if each step had meaning. Then she stopped just a few feet away. You ask always, she said, but not give name. Ethan blinked. My name? It's Ethan. She nodded. Ethan, then pointed at herself. Hukara. He repeated it carefully. Kara? Hukara, she corrected, rolling the R in her throat. He smiled slightly. Hukara. Her eyes glinted. Pleased. For the first time she sat beside him, not across, not apart, but close. Close enough that he could feel the heat from her skin. Ethan looked at her unsure. Why now? Why are you getting closer? Hukara lowered her head, almost like a bow. Hunt ends. Ethan's body stiffened. What? I hunted you, she said plainly. Many nights, many moons. You run, you hide, but you survive. He clenched his fists. So it was a hunt. She turned to him, eyes serious. Not for blood, for truth. Truth? To see if human is prey or partner. Ethan didn't answer. Hukara reached behind her back and pulled something out, a small object wrapped in leather. She placed it in his lap. What is this? He asked. Memory. He opened it carefully. Inside was a metal tag. A human military dog tag. His eyes widened. This was from the ship. From Darius. Darius had been one of the first humans to land on this planet. The record said he vanished, presumed dead. You knew him? She nodded slowly. He was brave, fought hard, died with fire in his eyes. You killed him? Ethan asked sharply. Her face darkened. No. My brother did. I watched. Darius saved a child from our hunt, a small one, not his own, not his kind. He fought for her. Ethan's chest tightened. I saw that. I remembered that. She looked into his eyes. When I found you weak, bleeding, I remembered Darius. I carried you from the wreck, fed you, kept you warm, taught the jungle to fear your scent. Ethan whispered. Why? Because you were not prey. Silence fell between them like stone. Ethan looked at the tag again. He remembered Darius's name in the old mission files, the man who disappeared during the early expeditions. Now he knew. He had died a warrior's death, honored by his killer's sister, or maybe his avenger. A roar shattered the moment. Loud. Distant. Wrong. Hukara stood in a blink, fangs bared. They come. Ethan followed her outside the cave. The jungle trembled. Birds fled. Trees shook. He could see lights in the distance. Torches. Many. Who are they? Ethan asked. My kind. Others. Hunters. They smell human. They'll kill me? Hukara turned, her voice low. No, they will take me. Why? I broke law. Protected prey. Fed him. Taught him. She stepped closer. But if he eats the gift, he is not prey, he is mate. Then they cannot kill me. Ethan stared at her. Everything made sense now. She wasn't just feeding him to keep him alive. She was saving her own life by proving a bond. If he accepted the meat, they could not punish her. But if he refused again, they would tear her apart. Ethan looked down, heart racing. "You're risking everything for me." "No," she said, "for us." He met her eyes. For the first time, he saw not a beast, but someone strong, proud, and afraid like him. The jungle screamed again, closer. She pushed him back toward the cave. "Hide. If they see you, they attack." "I'm not hiding," he said. "Ethan, no. If they want to kill you because you showed mercy, then I fight." Her breath caught. "You're a fool," he grinned. "Humans are good at that." She touched his cheek gently. "Then fool and beast. We die together. Or live together," he said. She growled softly. "Tomorrow, I offer gift one last time," Ethan nodded, "and I'll answer it. The broken moon pact." The sky cracked with thunder even though there were no clouds. Ethan crouched beside the cave wall, spear gripped tight in his hands. Rukara stood just outside, her sharp eyes fixed on the jungle ahead. The glow of the alien moon lit her skin with silver light, and for the first time, she looked nervous. Ethan watched her closely. "They're close now, aren't they?" She nodded once. "Too close. I smell them. Warriors. 6 or more." Ethan's voice tightened. "We can run." She didn't look at him. "They will follow. Always follow." He took a breath. "Then we fight." She finally turned to face him, her voice like a growl soaked in sorrow. "You do not understand. They do not want you. They want me for breaking the law." "But you didn't." "I did," she snapped. "I broke it the moment I spared you, the moment I watched over you like mate." Ethan stepped closer. "Then what do we do?" She held up a small leather pouch and dropped it in his hand. Inside was the meat again, wrapped this time clean. "Tonight," she said, "you eat. They will see it, and they will know you chose." Ethan stared at it. "And if I don't?" She hesitated. "They tear me apart in front of you. Slow, with honor, with law." A low rumble echoed through the trees. Not thunder. Footsteps. Big ones. Hukara's whole body tensed. "They come." She stepped out from the cave holding a torch. Her voice thundered into the night. "I call for Parzul." Silence. Then one figure appeared from the dark, huge, armored in bone and black scales. His face was covered with a mask made from a beast's skull. Hukara's voice was strong. "I have chosen, he has chosen, our bond is done." Parzul growled. "No witness, no meat accepted, no proof." "He lives. He breathes. He trained." Parzul raised his hand. More shapes appeared behind him. All warriors. All dangerous. Then, Parzul said one word. "Trial." Hukara stepped back into the cave. "You must face him, 1-to-1. Ethan's heart sank. "You mean fight him?" She nodded. "Not to death, but to kneel. If he kneels, you are accepted." "What happens if I kneel?" "Then we both die." Ethan ran his hand through his dirty hair. "What is this madness?" She stepped close. "It is the old way. The broken moon pact. Law of warriors. He fights you as male to male, not as prey." Ethan swallowed. "He's twice my size." Hukara didn't smile. "Then be twice as clever." The next hour was chaos. A fire was built in the center of the jungle clearing. Warriors circled it, silent but fierce. Torches lined the trees, and at the center Parzul waited, bare-chested, claws flexed, muscles twitching. Ethan stood across from him, barefoot, sweaty, and holding only a short spear. Hukara watched from the edge of the circle, eyes locked on Ethan. The fire roared, and the fight began. Parzul charged like a beast. Ethan ducked, rolled, and jabbed with the spear, scratching the warriors. Leg Parzul laughed. Ethan moved again, fast, human fast. He wasn't stronger, he never would be. But he was smarter, quicker, unpredictable. He used roots to trip Parzul, threw ash in his eyes, ducked under clawed strikes and stabbed where it hurt. The crowd started growling in confusion. Humans weren't supposed to fight like this. They were prey, weak, soft. But Ethan fought like a storm, dirty, clever, wild. Parzul roared and lifted Ethan into the air. Ethan slammed a hidden blade into his shoulder. Parzul dropped him, howling, and Ethan rose, bloodied but standing tall. "Kneel," he growled. Parzul stepped forward, ready to crush him, until Rukara shouted one word. "Zulta!" The crowd gasped. Parzul froze. Ethan blinked. "What does that mean?" Rukara stepped into the circle. "It means soul-bonded. Only spoken if the bond is sacred. If broken, she dies in dishonor." Parzul looked at her, then at Ethan, and slowly, painfully, he knelt. The jungle exploded in shouts and howls, some of joy, some of rage. But it was done. Rukara rushed to Ethan's side, helping him stand. "You did it," she said quietly. "I didn't even eat the meat yet." She smiled softly. "You didn't need to." He leaned on her, breathing hard. "So, what happens now?" She looked up at the stars. "Now, you are mine, and I am yours. And your people? Some accept, some will leave, others will watch, but none can touch you now." Ethan nodded. He looked around the jungle, at the warriors, the fire, the stars above. He had crashed here alone. But now, somehow, he had become part of something bigger, something terrifying, and something powerful. "The others are coming." Ethan sat near the edge of the fire pit, arms wrapped around his bruised ribs. His breath was slow, but steady. Nearby, Rukara crouched, sharpening a curved blade, her glowing eyes fixed on the trees beyond. The trial had ended, but peace didn't follow. "They're not leaving, are they?" Ethan asked. "No," she said without looking. "They watch. They wait. But others will come now." "Others?" She looked up. "Elders. Blood leaders. They must decide." He frowned. "Decide what?" "If your life is worth the risk of war." A horn blew in the distance, sharp, alien. It echoed through the jungle like a warning bell. Rukara stood. Ethan followed. "What does that mean?" he asked. "They come. Not hunters, not warriors. Enforcers." The word chilled him. "And what do they want?" "To test the bond. If they think it is fake, they end it." Ethan knew what that meant. They would kill her. An hour later, the clearing was surrounded. Figures emerged, tall, armored in silver bone, faces hidden behind masks. 5 in total. Each carried a long staff with glowing edges. One stepped forward. His voice was calm but deadly. "You are Rukara?" "Yes." "You claim bond with the human?" "Yes." "Prove it." Ethan stepped forward. "How?" The leader turned to him. "Face the trial of flame in mind." "What is that?" "Oh, test of unity. A challenge of will. If you break, she dies. If you lie, she dies." Rukara's hand tightened on her weapon. "And if we pass?" Ethan asked. "Then the bond is real. And protected." He nodded. "Then we'll pass." They were taken deep, into the jungle, far from the cave, to a place called the Pit of Fire. It was a ring of molten ground, glowing cracks in the earth. In the center, 2 stones stood side by side. One for the human, one for the bonded mate. The enforcer pointed. "Sit. Drink." A black liquid was handed to Ethan. Rukara drank first. Without hesitation, Ethan followed. It burned, cold first, then hot. And then, darkness. He woke in a place that wasn't real. A memory? No. A dream. But not his. He stood in a burning village. Beast women fought humans. Blood spilled everywhere. He turned and saw Rukara, young, screaming, clutching. The body of a child. He stepped forward. The child's eyes opened. His eyes. Ethan gasped. "What is this?" he whispered. A voice answered. Her fear. Then it changed. He stood on a cliff. The stars above looked like Earth's sky. A voice beside him, his old captain. "You were supposed to die with us, Ethan." He turned, bodies everywhere, Darius, other crew, their faces twisted in pain. Guilt hit him like a hammer. "You ran," the captain said. "No. I survived," Ethan muttered. "You hid." "I fought." Fire burst around him, then silence. He opened his eyes. He was back, barely breathing. Rukara collapsed beside him, but the enforcer raised his hand. They passed. The others stepped back. "The bond is true. Protected by blood. Honored by flame." Rukara stirred, touching Ethan's face. "You saw everything. Even the child?" He nodded. "He looked like me." She looked away. "I dreamed of a future." Ethan took her hand. "Then let's make it real." But above them, a new sound rose. Ships. The sky burned red. Someone else had arrived. Not her kind. Not his. A third force. And they weren't here to ask questions. They were here to kill. The trial of flesh and flame. The sky tore open. Ethan shielded, his eyes as fire streaked across the night. Alien ships, not Rukara's kind and not human either, descended from above with howling engines. The air turned sharp, thick with static and fear. "Who are they?" he shouted. "Rukara's." Voice was grave. "Off-world hunters. They sell bond breakers. They take those marked by forbidden unions." Ethan turned pale. "They came for us?" She nodded slowly. "Our bond is rare, feared. They believe it breaks balance." The enforcers looked up, as well now silent. Even they, armored and powerful, seemed unsure. "Should we fight them?" Ethan asked. Rukara looked into the jungle. "No," she said. "We must prove our strength. Not just to my people. Not just to them, but to the galaxy." Ethan's eyes narrowed. "How?" She turned to the enforcers. "Let the last trial begin. Let it be witnessed by flame and blood." They moved quickly. The pit of fire was cleared, turned into a stage surrounded by warriors, elders, and now the descending soldiers of the foreign invaders. A challenge was declared. The trial of flesh and flame. A fight not of domination alone, but of survival, intelligence, and unity. Bonded pairs must survive 3 rounds of combat and trial, facing unknown creatures and obstacles. If they succeeded, none could question their bond. If they failed, Ethan looked at Rukara. "We're not just fighting for love. We're fighting for existence." She looked at him. "Then we fight together." Round 1. The beast pit. The ground opened beneath them and dropped them into a massive arena of stone and glowing lava veins. The crowd above watched in silence. A gate slid open. A creature stepped out, 10 feet tall, covered in crystal armor, with mouths on both hands and acid dripping from its jaws. Ethan gripped a metal staff. Rukara stepped beside him, her claws ready. "You go left," she said. "I blind it." "Got it," the beast charged. Rukara leapt high, landing on its back and slashing across its eyes. Sparks flew. The creature roared and slammed into the wall. Ethan dashed low, jabbing at its legs, dodging acid spit that melted the ground behind him. Swung wildly, catching Ethan across the ribs. He hit the stone hard, blood in his mouth. But before the beast could finish him, Rukara let out a terrifying roar and plunged both claws into its spine. It dropped with a ground-shaking thud. The crowd above remained quiet, stunned. Round 2. The illusion maze. They were dropped into a circular arena filled with smoke and moving walls. Rukara vanished from Ethan's view, then he heard a scream. Her scream. "Rukara!" he shouted, spinning. "Where are you?" Another scream, then a voice behind him. "Ethan, help me." He turned and saw her, bleeding, crawling. But something was wrong. Her eyes were hollow. Fake, a trap. He stepped back. You're not her. The figure morphed, becoming a copy of him, then Darius, then a child. Whispering lies. You will never belong. She doesn't love you. You are prey. Ethan closed his eyes, remembered the touch of her hand, the weight of her voice when she said his name. No, he whispered, I'm not prey. I'm her partner. He opened his eyes and sprinted forward, straight through the illusion, and found her, chained to a stone, weak from the poison mist. He lifted her in his arms and ran. The maze faded, and the crowd gasped. Again. Round 3. The fire circle. A ring of warriors surrounded them now. 12 of the strongest from Rukara's world, including Parzul. But this was not a fight to the death. This was a test of will. They must fight without rage. Without fear. They must protect each other. Parzul stepped forward. You do not fight us, you fight the pain inside you. Then he struck. Ethan blocked, barely. Rukara leapt into the fray, her movements fast and fluid. They moved like wind and flame, deflecting blows, never aiming to kill. But the challenge got harder. More warriors attacked, faster. Ethan slipped. A blade sliced his thigh. Blood poured down. Rukara howled and stood over him, but she didn't kill. She shielded, stood like a wall against 5 attackers. Get up, she growled. Ethan groaned. I'm trying. She reached back. You are mine, and I am yours. We rise or fall together. He took her hand, stood, and they fought as one, deflecting every blow, moving as a single shape. Not prey, not beast. Partners. When the final bell rang, all 12 warriors stepped back and knelt. Silence fell again. Even the off-world soldiers did not speak. Rukara lifted her hand high and helped Ethan climb the last stone. Together they stood at the top of the trial pit, facing all those who doubted them. Ethan turned to the invaders. We passed every test. You want proof of our bond? He lifted her hand into the air. This is proof. The sky answered with another roar. But this time, the foreign ships pulled away. Slowly. Silently. Defeated, not by violence, but by unity. Later, as the fires died, down in the crowd drifted into the jungle. Ethan lay beside Rukara in the cool grass, her arm draped over his chest, her breathing slow and calm. He whispered, Why do you think they left? She didn't open her eyes. Because they saw something they did not understand. And feared it? No, she said. They respected it. He turned to look at her face. Scars, beauty, strength, and in her eyes, home. The gift I finally accept. The wind was calm. The jungle, once filled with smoke and growls, now whispered only the sound of life returning. The trees stood tall again. Birds and strange glowing creatures flew freely across the treetops. Yet for Ethan, the air felt heavy. He stood at the edge of the cliff high above the ancient valley. Beside him, Rukara was silent, watching the horizon, where 3 moons rose side by side. They left, he said. But it doesn't feel like it's over. She didn't answer at first. Then she said softly, It is never over. Not for those who change things. After the trial of Flesh and Flame, everything had changed. The Empire's hunters had retreated. The bond was now honored, even if some still grumbled in secret. Rukara's people had begun to split, some joining her in belief of a new path, while others vanished into the deeper wilds. Ethan had earned their respect, but not their love. Not yet, and something still stirred in the stars, something bigger than tribal law or jungle justice. I had a dream, Ethan said. Rukara looked at him. I dreamed I was back on Earth, surrounded by humans, cities, metal skies, and I saw you there, alone. Everyone stared at you like you were a monster. And I did nothing. Her gaze didn't waver. And then the ground broke. The sky burned. And I realized I was no longer one of them. She stepped closer. You are no longer human? No, he said. I'm more. He reached into his bag and pulled out the old leather wrap, the one with the meat, the symbol of her gift. Her eyes widened. He unwrapped it slowly, and for the first time, instead of hesitation, he took the full piece in both hands and ate, in front of her, in front of the spirits, in front of the 3 moons. Rukara stepped back in shock. You accept the bond? Truly? Ethan wiped his mouth and nodded. I didn't understand it before. I thought it was just survival. Now I know. It's more. She stepped forward, her voice a whisper. Then, the bond is complete. The air shifted instantly. A low hum rose from the ground. The symbols on the rocks began to glow faintly. The jungle seemed to tremble, not with fear, but with awakening. What's happening? Ethan asked. The ancestors, they have seen the truth. Light rose from the ground beneath their feet, wrapping around them like mist. Memories, old and strange, flickered in front of their eyes. Human faces, alien forms, warriors, lovers, betrayals, deaths, all of it connected by the same line. Unity, born from difference. And then, from the light, came a roar, one they hadn't heard before. A massive figure stepped from the shadows. Not a beast, not a hunter, but a queen. Her skin was golden stone, her crown of bone and blood. Her wings shimmered with starlight. She looked ancient. Eternal. Hukara knelt instantly. Ethan stood frozen. You are the one, the queen said, her voice like wind through mountains. The bonded outsider. Ethan nodded. Yes. She turned to Rukara. And you are the one who defied us. Yes, Rukara said without fear. Good, the queen said. Because the time of hiding has ended. The queen raised her arms. In the sky above, the stars began to move, not just twinkle, move. Ships, hundreds, maybe thousands. A fleet. Hukara gasped. What is this? Others are coming, the queen said. From beyond the old empires. They have seen the trials. They have felt the bond awaken. They fear it. Ethan stepped forward. So this was never just about us? No, the queen replied. It was always about what you represent. 2 species that should never unite did, and in doing so, broke the chains of fear. A deafening sound tore across the valley. Flashes of light struck the sky. Enemy ships. Already, Hukara grabbed her weapons. They're early. Ethan turned to her. No, we expected them. He reached for the weapons he had built. Tools made from both alien and human technology. Fusion of both worlds. Hukara smiled as she armed herself. You finally act like one of us, he nodded. No, we finally act as one. The battle that followed was unlike anything the jungle had seen in centuries. Warriors of the old tribes, humans stranded long ago, rebels who once hid in shame, all rose with Rukara and Ethan at their lead. Beasts the size of towers crashed into enemy ships. The jungle itself rose in defense, roots tearing apart landing crafts, vines strangling metal machines. Ethan led ground troops using human tactics, traps, terrain, and surprise. Hukara soared through the flames, leaping from ship to ship like a spirit of fury. They fought back, not as human, not as beast, but as bonded soulmates of 2 worlds. At the final hour, Ethan stood atop a broken dropship, blood running down his arms, his eyes fixed on the last wave of enemy ships. They were retreating, slowly, angrily, but surely. Behind him, Rukara stood tall, her hand in his. The sky cleared. The jungle breathed, and for the first time since he crashed here, Ethan felt peace. A few days later, they returned to the ancient temple, but now others walked beside them. Younglings, rebels, curious watchers, people from different tribes, even a few humans who had once hidden in caves too afraid to face the beasts. Ethan carved a new mark into the stone wall beside the oldest carving. A human hand and a beast's claw. Touching. Together. That night, as they lay by the fire, Rukara turned to him. "You still miss your world?" He looked at her and smiled. "I found a better one," she growled softly, her claws trailing along his arm. "Then, sleep warrior." "No," he said, pulling her close. "Not tonight." "Why?" "Because tonight," Ethan whispered, "I don't want to miss a single breath of it." And with the jungle stars above them, and the future open like a new sky, the two lay side by side, hunter and human, beast and bonded, no longer hunted.